Hello, my name is Sherry McCray, and I am a student in the DNP program at King University. And I'm going to speak today on leadership team assessment using Patrick Lencioni's book, Overcoming the Five Dysfunctions of a Team. The team that I'm going to use for this purpose included 10 to 15 members, and that was dependent upon the current structure of the organization and the current needs of the organization. This team provided education to clinical employees, and they did this by ensuring that the clinical staff was competent to provide patient care. This team also provided conferencing services throughout the healthcare system, and over the years provided many other miscellaneous services which incorporated both clinical education and conferencing. The contribution that this team made to organizational goals included quality health care, which is based on staff competency, and staff competency is based on proper training. This team was pivotal in providing training and ensuring competency. Therefore, the quality of the services provided to the patients of this healthcare organization was truly based on the effectiveness of this clinical education team. The team assessment results, based on the exercise on page 116 to 117 of Lencioni's Overcoming the Five Dysfunctions of a Team, revealed that absence of trust could be a problem with a score of 7, fear of conflict was probably not a problem with a score of 9, lack of commitment could be a problem, scoring 7, avoidance of accountability needs to be addressed with a score of only 5, and inattention to results was probably not a problem, scoring an 8. So the major dysfunction is accountability. And using the 3 characteristics of accountability revealed in that exercise showed that team members call out on another's deficiencies or unpredictable behaviors sometimes. Team members are deeply concerned about the prospect of letting down their peers sometimes, and team members challenge one another about their plans and approaches rarely. And those quotes are from Lencioni's book on page 117. Lencioni defines accountability as the willingness of team members to remind one another when they are not living up to the performance of standards of the group. Sometimes this can be difficult because this relies on peer-to-peer accountability. This must be modeled by the leader, and the results accountability versus behaviors accountability is that it's much easier for both peers and leaders to hold one another accountable for results than it is to hold one another accountable for behaviors. The perception of the leader's actions by team members is crucial to peer-to-peer accountability, in that peers are more likely to hold one another accountable if they know or believe that the leader will back them up in what they're saying to one another. The level of comfort in giving critical feedback is also crucial to holding one another accountable, for the team members to holding one another accountable within a team. The underlying causes of this being one dysfunction of this team is that, and each of these bullet points are based on my personal experience of leading this team for 8 years, that it's difficult to provide peer-to-peer feedback, and I think that's true of any team. It's one thing for the leader to hold team members accountable, but for peers to hold one another accountable is an entirely different level of thinking. There was one time when I used peer evaluations, which for the most part turned out to be okay, but there were a few instances within that which were just all but disastrous, depending on the results that each peer received. And the way I did that was each team member had an opportunity to evaluate every other member of that team, and I compiled the results and gave each team member the results so that they knew exactly what each member of their, or the composite results of the team, what those were and how their team felt about them as a team member. It was eye-opening to a lot of people. It validated some thoughts of what I thought about each team member, but it was overall a positive experience. But like I said, there were a few situations that were not optimal. Some team members became defensive because it was harder for them to take that crucial feedback. Always, I think there's a level of competition within a team. Some team members who had similar positions or similar levels of education, I think it's just a natural to feel in competition with one another from time to time. Also, after being on the same team with each other for several years, there's a certain level of comfort. And sometimes when team members become too comfortable with one another, maybe they overstep boundaries and give feedback which can be construed as stepping on each other's toes or overstepping boundaries there. So regardless of the setting that this peer-to-peer feedback is given, making sure that it is a proper setting and that everyone has the proper opportunity to give that feedback is crucial. Over time, the changes within this team, like I said, it was for 8 years that I led this team. It certainly evolved and changed drastically during that time period. Members came and went. Turnover was not an issue, but as the team grew or as organizational cuts took place, certainly the team members changed from time to time. Also, over that time period, organizational goals changed, leaders of the organization changed, which caused the mission of the organization and therefore of the department to change. Members developed varying levels of comfort with one another as each of those things took place over time. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I like using that SWOT model to think about how the team evolved and looked at each other over the 8 years that it was in existence, because each of those 4 factors really played into how team members got along, how they worked together for the greater good of the department and the organization. If at any time they felt threatened, they were less likely to contribute openly to whatever the task may be. Or if they felt comfortable, they were much more likely to take risks and therefore grow the team. One tool that I picked up from in Lencioni's book was the TEE, the Team Effectiveness Exercise, and I would love to have had the opportunity to have actually done this with the team that I led. The requirements for doing this exercise required that, this is per Lencioni, that the team work together for more than 3 months, that there's more than an hour to do the exercise, a facilitator must be used, and team members must have already established a level of trust with one another, and that was certainly the case with this team. And like I said previously, over 8 years, the team members did develop a level of trust with one another. Lencioni talks about the TEE and states that the two questions that are asked while doing the exercise are: 1, what is the single most important behavioral characteristic or quality demonstrated by this person that contributes to the strength of our team? And the second question, what is the single most important behavioral characteristic or quality demonstrated by this person that can sometimes derail the team? And the exercise works by going through each team member and letting them answer these 2 questions about each other, starting with the leader. This exercise definitely would produce honest results. Everyone's kind of put on the spot. They don't have much time to overthink the responses. It does take, like I said previously, more than an hour to do, but it doesn't drag on so long that participants can overthink and try to sugarcoat their responses. The leader goes first, which adds to decreasing the defensiveness. This provides a key improvement areas with the 360-degree feedback. But over time, the results gleaned from this exercise must be tracked in order to show true progress. This would have been an excellent exercise for the team that I discussed. The group involved in this team were professionals. They were well educated, and they were members who most likely would give and receive feedback well. Lencioni states that accountability on a strong team occurs directly among peers. I can think back through many of the team members and can all but imagine exactly what they would say about one another. And as previously stated, the peer evaluation that I did really did give them an opportunity to give that feedback, but I think this exercise, being a real-time, oral, face-to-face, one-on-one time to do that with no anonymous responses, would have been of great benefit to this team, and certainly something that I will consider using if ever given the opportunity to work with a team such as this in the future. In conclusion, again, thinking back about this team, which I thought the world of, I cared about every member of this team, and am truly impressed that only out of the 5 areas of dysfunction, that accountability, and I would have probably guessed that that would have been the one that would have showed up as a dysfunction, because that was a highly performing team, produced lots of great results, definitely committed to one another and the organization. Rarely was there conflict, and when there was, it was of benefit and used in a positive way. For the most part, the team members trusted one another. So going back to the accountability issue, the peer-to-peer accountability and showing one another what they could do better, I'll, as leader of that group, will take the blame of not knowing about this tool and using it to help this team grow and let them bring about what each other could do better for themselves, for the team, and for the organization. But after reviewing the components of Lencioni's book, absolutely agree and understand that all 5 parts of a team must be in place to have the most highly functioning team possible. And the reference used for this was Lencioni's Overcoming the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Thank you.